Have you ever thought that the wasps, these small insects, which seem to be so unpretentious, they have a contract and sacred to the sky? As it is, it looks like something from the story, but it is in yellow, a little town forgotten by the middle of the wilderness. This is the kind of thing that happens for real. And the crazy thing? A thief, who think you the king of the world, only to find at the worst time, at the time of the divine justice, resolves to reappear in a way that no one expected. Have you ever gone through a situation where it seemed simple? It became a real lesson in humility? So, stay with me, because that's all you're going to find out right now might surprise you. And look, it's not just a story of a farm, tractor, or a thief. It is a story that mixes humor, faith, fate, and a bit of a mystery, all in a package only. Here, we believe that it is something that only happens when the universe wants to show off his strength, and that in many cases, one of the greatest lessons come with a logo, but it's also a blessing that no one expected. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to be playing around with a landing, all the while thinking that they can take advantage of them? Because you are, in fact, is what the universe gives you a sign, and send their message is strong, and who is not listening, you end up learning on the skin. This is what happens to this thief, who got into the story, wanting to take it from the other, all the while thinking that he had a right, and that nobody would notice. But you, my friend, your life has a peculiar way of charging his debts. It may seem like everything is a joke, that the world is moving in your favor, for a long time, but at the bottom it has a greater force, which governs the right. And that is exactly where we enter our main character, a guy who thinks he knows the system, and who do you think you can go over the top of it all, even that it is the universe's resolve to turn the game upside down. Have you ever seen a man so confident, so full of themselves that they think that nothing is going to happen to you? Because the thief was sure, until the silence of the morning was broken by a sound that no one had expected to hear on a ranch in the quiet as anything. And the one who came after you, oh, that no one is able to imagine until you see it with your own eyes. Because, sometimes, it's God's justice, comes up with a touch of humor, and a bit of a mystery, and that is a lesson that is selected for the memory. Stay with me till the end, because this story has so much more. And what you are going to find out, the following is something that can change the way you look at it. It seems to just be lucky, or unlucky, because it is, in truth, it is all a matter of energy, and karma, a force that we can't always see it, but it's always there, watching, waiting for the right time to do it. And at that very moment, the universe decided that it was time to teach you a lesson that no one is going to forget anytime soon. So, get ready, because the next part of this story is going to take you to a point of faith, humor, and justice, if you are on an explosive mixture. And you're never going to look at a situation that's difficult to do the same thing. As they delve deeper into this journey, it is clear that the challenges are not only an obstacle, but calls for a more growth conscious. Sometimes, life puts us in situations that seem to test our strength, our faith, and even our ability to laugh at ourselves. And it is precisely in these moments that we realize how much we have to learn a lot about who you really are, beyond the masks that we have in the day-to-day. Every experience, no matter how hard it may seem, it carries a seed of transformation, and an opportunity to reflect on what really matters to you, and what do we want to leave behind, and strengthen us. When we understand that the universe often works in subtle ways, while using the same, the humor is for us to open our eyes, and it all starts to make more sense of it. It's as if a force majeure, he was inviting us to trust them, to bring hope and light, even in situations that are more complicated. And, at this point, it is important to remember that we are not alone in this journey. Every comment you leave here, each and every feeling that you have shared, it helps you to create a network of support and understanding that goes beyond words. Your participation in the life of the community, because when we connect to the truth, we can spread this positive energy wherever we went. If this talk has touched your heart, you will stay here with me for a people, continue to reflect. Leave a comment about what you played, or how you've been coping with these difficult times. The short of this video, and if you feel that this message resonated with you, and if you want to be always close to you if you subscribe to the channel. And so, together, we can build you a journey of faith, humor, and justice come together in a way that makes all the difference. Right now, for us to continue to deepen this topic, there's something even more important what you need to understand. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, as we reflect on our own journeys, too many times, we are faced with a truth that hides it, which is seldom addressed in our resistance to the changes that need to happen inside of us. This resistance is often to be seen on a wall, invisible, as a kind of barrier that is created to help protect what they already know, even if it is known to be something of which we are holding, which is over the limit, which prevents you from progressing. And it is there that lies the challenge. To understand that, often, the biggest obstacle is ourselves, to our mind, which insists on the need to keep it all the same, even when they know, deep down, that with the growth in demands selflessness, courage, and a portion of the risk. In this, it is like a shadow that follows each and every step in our transformation, and whispering so as not to change, to stay in the comfort zone, because that's what it is in the family seems more reliable, more predictable. But the truth is that this shade, so you try to keep us in a routine, it will not be able to hide what you really are, as humans, are constantly evolving, in need of renovation in order to feel complete and accurate. And the idea of resistance is just as subtle as a breeze that she has, but that's as powerful as the storm that tries to bring us down. She creeps into our mind, in our deepest fears and our doubts about what we are able to achieve, and many times, she gets back on just because you don't recognize it straight away. Recognize that it is a crucial step in the transformation, because only in that way we were able to uncover the deepest layers of our being. When we begin to understand that it is a kind of defense mechanism, we have realized that it was born out of an attempt to preserve who you are, and to protect the dreams of the possible frustration, and to avoid the discomfort out of your comfort zone. But here is the secret of your comfort zone, is a prison, invisible, what is stopping us from achieving what we really ourselves, what is our by right, the thing that beats strong within the heart, and when we are on the courage to blossom. And in that moment, you realize that true freedom lies in our decision-making to deal with the resistance, to embrace the discomfort as a sign that we are on the right track. Because of the challenge of this self-imposed glass ceiling, we are one step closer to self-knowledge and a deeper. They find out that we are much more than our doubts and limitations. We've discovered that we can reprogram our mind, that we can turn fear into motivation. You can turn resistance in a driving force for change. And it is this process that we begin to understand that our strength lies in our ability to move forward, even with all the doubts, the insecurities, the weight of the resistance, which insists on the need for us to pull back. And that's exactly where it shows the beauty of the day. It is not linear, it is not easy, but it's ours. Each challenge, each of the resistance, it's an opportunity to get to know each other better, and to become a stronger than resignificamos in what we believe to be the limits. Because, deep down, it's all a matter of perspective. When you look at the inside and see the resistance as a part of our continued growth, it loses power. And then we can start to look for the doors that have been shut up. He realized that the key to opening this door will always be in our hands, in our desire to move forward, to challenge us to catch him. And yet, we do know that this is not the case in 1 hour to the next. The change will require patience, persistence, and a leap of faith. The faith and belief that what we are looking for, it is possible, even if the path may seem crooked, or in the air. This faith is what sustains us when everything around us seems to come crashing down, when the resistance tries to convince us that it is better to give up, for that is what we aspire to is out of reach. That's what is our connection to something bigger, and with a strength that goes beyond the fear, the doubt, and the limitations of human life. Because, in the end, it's the true transformation happens when we align our will with our deeper purpose. Even in the face of all of that, you try to steer us away. And in that moment, something inside of us to awake, a quiet surety of the which, we break down all the barriers that you have created or that have been imposed upon them, and that is the real freedom only when we decided to rewrite our story, even though it retakes courage to face what haunts us. Your courage, at the bottom, it's a choice. With a choice of whether to look in the mirror and realize that, in spite of all the fear, all the doubt, at the core is still intact, ready to reinvent ourselves each and every day. And when we do it, we can begin to understand that our greatest victory is not the absence of resistance, but in our ability to rise above it, to turn what seemed to be an obstacle as a stepping stone to something bigger than themselves. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because I'm pretty sure that is what we are talking about here is just the tip of the iceberg in a flash, a fact which, if understood, in fact, can change lives. And the truth is that all change starts within each of us in our decision-making from the experience of what limits us, to challenge our own boundaries, and believe that you are capable of something more, something that goes beyond our own expectations. It is a call to each and every one of us to look within, and ask for this resistance is that it insists on the need for us to hold on to, and to decide that, in spite of all this, our journey of evolution, you can't stop it. Because, deep down, that the resistance, no matter how strong they may seem, there is a shadow in that it does when we shine a light on our own will, our own love, our faith, in life, and in the lives of our ability to change. And, if you think about all of this, I realize the greatest lesson we can take from this is that your true strength lies in our courage to keep going, even when everything around us seems to conspire against you. Because, when you understand who we are and what our story is, we can rewrite the script whenever you want to, it all changes. We change our outlook, we change our hearts and change the world around us. And this, more than anything else, it's proof that we are capable of overcoming the resistance that keep us trapped, because, deep down, we are made up of a power that never runs out, a light that never goes out. And that light is what guides us in this journey of self-discovery, the search for life in the most real, the most complete, the most of us. Because, in the end, the greatest victory is just such a find that is within each and every one of us. There's an incredible strength, capable of transforming any resistance in the bridge. It really doesn't matter. He comments that I came to realize the truth. And as long as the light is gaining more and more strength, you realize that it is not something that is external to an entity far away, that it appears to be sudden, but rather a manifestation of a silent and persistent, who was born there, in the very heart of our nature. It is like a seed, even in the silence more profound, since it has all of the power of the flower. It is enough that the people would allow them to grow, that it will receive the attention and care for granted. And on this note, a lot of times, it is up to daily, you choose to look beyond the surface, to embrace the pain, to accept that it is a journey of self-discovery is a process of letting go. Letting go of what limits us, of the masks we wear to hide our pain from the beliefs that have made us to believe that we are not enough or that we need something outside of us to be validated. When we started to take apart the layers of life, of love, our true essence began to emerge, with a force that is almost overwhelming, like a stream of water, which, for a time, desimpedita, you will find the path to a more natural flow. And it was in this stream, we find a freedom that is often confused with a lack of hardship. But, in fact, it is the ability to remain steadfast even in the face of turmoil, knowing that no matter how the wind blows strong, there's a central, quiet, within the us, remain strong. This quiet strength that is of the truth, that core will never leave you alone, even when everything seems to be falling apart. And when you figure that out, you start to realize that what really matters is not what others expect of us, and the achievements of the surface, which often seek to fill a void. What is important is that deep connection with who we really are. What makes us vibrate to the dreams that we have hidden in the back of the heart is often forgotten in the rush of day-to-day. By reconnecting with that inner light, it's one thing becomes clear. It's the true transformation begins from the inside to the outside. No point in trying to change the world and the people around us, if, inside, we are still stuck in the doubt, fear, or the fear of being who you really are. Change happens when we make room for that light to shine, even if it is shy in the beginning, even if you need the patience and the courage to show it to the full. And, in the process, we learn to trust our intuition, to hear that voice, subtle, always on the alert, even when the noise is external, tries to divert us from the path. It is as if, in the course of a lifetime, for all of us, in some way, we loaded an internal compass, which, over time, all you need is a little bit of attention to point you in the right direction. And in such a direction, that direction is the one that leads us to what's really important, our own truth, our purpose, and the deeper meaning of it all, what we have. When we can see you in this light, we see that it is no longer a distant light, but rather the spark that has always been inside of us, waiting for the time to be turned on, light on our feet, to clear up our thoughts and our feelings and emotions. It's as if, when you open your eyes to this reality, you start looking at the world with fresh eyes, with more empathy, more understanding, more love each day. And, at the same time, we let go of a huge load of expectations in the trap of the charges, which prevents us from simply be. Because, deep down, that the light reveals the greatest secret in life is that she always gives us what we need, at the right time, to the extent it is enough that we are aware of and open to receive. And while all of this happens, there is a sense that we are only just beginning to understand the power that's inside of us. This is the power that transforms us in silence, but the final and conclusive. Each and every decision, in every moment of introspection, that is, as a piece of design that will fit in this puzzle large, it's a journey of self-discovery. And even though at times we feel lost, just as if you were in a dark room not knowing where to go, this light is built to never leave you alone of fact. It is our compass and our guide to the invisible, which is to remind us that, no matter how hard it may seem, there is always a way out, a hope, a chance for a new start. And when you realize this, we can begin to understand that true strength is acknowledging our vulnerability, and accept that we are human, flawed, but at the same time, full of potential to create something new, something real. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because, when you think about it, I realize that this is the light that guides us, also has a role as a wake-up for something much more important, our ability to have a positive impact on the world around us. When we connect with that truth within us, we begin to see that each and every step of the self is a seed that we plant in our own history. It is a seed that, with such care and love, it can blossom into something that will inspire others to also seek the light. And in this processing chain is infinite. As we become more aware of who we are, we can begin to reflect the light of the way in which we act, speak, and relate to one another. Thus, in our own evolution, it becomes a bridge that connects our inner selves to the outer world, and that connection is what gives meaning to our lives. Because, at the end of the day, it all comes down to this never-ending quest for authenticity, for a true connection, for a life that is meant to be a fact. And while all of that is going to need it little by little, you realize that it's the greatest gift we can give to ourselves. This is just to awaken to our own light. One light, many, many times, and he was there all the time, hidden away for fear, for doubt, for a number of conditions that we have learned throughout your life. But that with courage and perseverance, you can discover, ignite, and let it shine with all its intensity. And, in doing so, we notice that you're not alone in this journey, that we are part of something much bigger, a connection, to recognize that links us all, and to all of you. And in that moment, in the hope of a life more fully, more freely, and more aligned with our purpose, it becomes a sure thing that beats strong within the chest. Because, when we embrace that light, and finally, we believe that we will be able to transform not only our history, but also to the world around us, in a way that only someone who knows the very essence of truth. He comments that I came to realize the truth. And in that moment, as the soul, it seems to be open to a new understanding. It is nearly impossible not to feel the weight of the years, doubts, and fears that have been piling up silently, as if they were the shadows that still insist on hiding in your own mind. And it is precisely here that we'll see that the search for authenticity is not something external, an achievement that ranges from one minute to the next, but it's a journey of inner transformation that happens in the deepest part of our being. Each and every decision taken, each and every small act of courage is to look inward, bringing us closer to the truth, that he was always there, hidden beneath the layers of expectations and opinions of others based on standards that were applicable taxes. And then, suddenly, it all makes perfect sense. What it seemed to be a constant battle, a struggle, frustration, against his own essence, which turns out to be an invitation to rediscover who they truly are, without masks, and no masks. When we begin to understand that change happens in your head, that is, this is not a thing that you can expect out of it, it all turns into an almost magical. Because you are, in fact, one of the deep is a process of deliverance. Free yourself from the limiting beliefs, the voices that tell you you're not good enough, that we can't or we shouldn't. It's as if, when you open your eyes to this truth, the veil was pulled out slowly, revealing a universe of possibilities that have always been there, waiting for the courage to look. In addition to that, we were told that it was true. And it is at this point that we realize that our greatest strength lies in your authenticity, and the courage to be who we truly are without fear of judgment, without the weight of a mask, is that you try to hide our vulnerabilities. Because, after all, vulnerability is the gateway to a real connection, not only with us but with the world around us. And it is this connection that, when it occurs, it has the power to transform us from the inside out. It is not a change in the surface, which disappears with the first storm, or the first stumbling block. It is a transformation that is rooted in the awareness that we are all worthy of living a life full of moments of peace, and of the achievements of fact. And when you figure that out, we look to our own history, with a new way to look at it, without judgment, and with the most compassionate, and, above all, a new hope. Because, when you figure out that you are able to create our own reality on the basis of what we carry into the heart, we realize that each and every choice, no matter how simple it may seem, it has the power to bring us closer to this truth, that the pulse is strong in all of us. And, in doing so, we begin to realize we are not alone in this journey, that there is an invisible force, an energy, a transformation that comes with us, guiding our steps, even in the moments of greatest doubt about it. At the same time, it makes us question everything that we have learned so far, what we have been taught to accept as the truth. And, in doing so, we open up space for a new perspective, a broader, more compassionate, more in tune with who we really are. Because, after all, the greatest freedom is to free ourselves from the shackles that keep us from seeing our own light. And this liberation is not an external act, but it is a decision internal to embrace who we are to the truth, to honor our own emotions, our own shortcomings, our own vulnerability. It is a process of self-knowledge that makes us strong, what makes us to understand that life isn't a struggle against the world, but it's an opportunity to be loyal to the core. And, in it, all of it gains a sense of the difficulties, the learning, the falling, and the victories. I now want to go more in depth on this subject. Because, as we reflect on this journey of self-discovery, we realize that it is not a linear path, but one of the spiral of the growth of the ups and the downs, which are woven together to form a delicate dance between what we are, and who we can become. And, in it, we found out that real change is about having the courage to confront our own shadow, to recognize that they often prefer to hide it out of fear, out of shame, or because they are more comfortable. But it is precisely there, in that space of vulnerability, and that is the biggest potential for change. Because you accept our imperfections, we are liberated from the grip of self-righteousness and learn to appreciate the process, and celebrate every step you take, every small victory, every time a new discovery of a truth that was always there, waiting to be recognized. And this is the awareness it brings. It will inevitably feel a sense of peace, in alignment with what really matters to you. Because, when you get in touch with our inner selves, we can begin to understand that life doesn't have to be a constant struggle against the world, but it's a celebration of our authenticity. And when we do, our actions will become more and more light, more purposeful, and more able to generate a real impact on our world. It's as if, when we accept who we are, in fact, for a light of its own if you ignite within us, lighting up the paths which before seemed to be dark and fuzzy. And in that moment, it all fits, it all becomes clear. Because of the greater truth is that we may find that we are the creators of our own reality, and that when we align with our inner selves, everything around us becomes such a deep emotional connection with. The truth is that you give us the strength to move forward, even in the most difficult times, because we know that we are on the right path, even though it is still being built each and every day. And while on this journey of self-discovery continues, one thing is increasingly clear. It is the real freedom comes from within, from in-depth understanding of what our lives are our greatest resource. And then, while holding it, you feel that we are able to transform not only our history, but also the way we see the world in a way that only those who know their own soul can do this for real. Because, in the end, this is the most important lesson of all. That is, the change arises from within, out of a wake-up call that connects us to our full potential, more pure, more genuine one. And when you do that, everything around us reflects that light to illuminate the path of those who have decided to once and for all, and living in alignment with your deepest truth. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because, in the end, this is the most important lesson of all. That is, the change arises from within, out of a wake-up call that connects us to our full potential, more pure, more genuine one. And when you do that, everything around us reflects that light to illuminate the path of those who have decided to once and for all, and living in alignment with your deepest truth. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because a lot of times, people cling to the idea that transformation is something that is external, in a constant effort to change what is outside of you to feel that you are growing up, but for the real revolution starts right here inside of us. It is as if each of the layers of fear, uncertainty, doubt, should be on a wall, invisible, that have built up over time, often without notice, and are only able to take down when we choose to look at it with the courage within, in our own shadows, what we deal with for so long. This is a journey of self-discovery. It is, in fact, a journey to be silent, where the battle happens in your own mind, in your deepest thoughts, the way we connect with our true essence. This is where the truth starts to reveal itself, in a sort of wake-up subtle and constant, and that it requires the intent to listen, to be present and accept what you have found, without a trial. Because, a lot of times, people think that you have a great deal of change, in different places, and new people are all around us, when in fact, all that we seek is in our own power to take us to reconnect with who you really are. And in such a reconnect, no matter how simple it may seem, it is one of the most challenging, as it requires a total surrender, a look of sincere and without masks, and our own weaknesses. When we begin to understand that our authenticity is what truly sets us free, it changes everything in perspective. Every decision, every action is a reflection of that internal alignment, as a manifestation of the truth. And there you have it. The impact was immediate. On the people around us realize that a change, even if unconsciously, they have been as to the authenticity, transparency, and the courage to be who you truly are, without masks, or masks of the social, which we hide. This authenticity is, in fact, a quiet strength that he has been, which is a source of inspiration. It changes. And it's the most beautiful thing is that when we align with the truth, we begin to attract the things that really resonates with our inner selves, and creating a new reality. The more you take, the more real, more connected to what is most profound in the us. It's as if, when you open the portal to the inner dimension of possibilities is revealed, then a layer of potential, which up to then was hidden by one's own limitations. And it is this layer that, when accessed, it suggests that the change is not something that you search for outside, but it's something that already exists within each and every one of us, just waiting for the time to wake up. Every step on this journey is an opportunity for you to tell the truth, the fact that we are able to transform, to evolve, to expand our limits. And this is not an end, because, at the core, we are infinite, the creations made out of the light and the shadow of a doubt, and certainty in the moments of silence, and the pure manifestation of courage. So, the big question is, how can we really sustain this up? This is the alignment. How to keep the flame of this connection with our inner selves in the midst of the turmoil of day-to-day. Perhaps the answer lies in the simplicity of the act of self-love, in patience as we got with us in the course of time, the courage to start over again as many times as you need to, even when the world insists that he would have us believe that we don't have enough of it. After all, that's the real magic, to realize that the change is not a destination but a continuous journey, a dance of self-discovery that is never-ending, because, at each step, we have become the versions of the most authentic selves. And then, when the reality begins to take shape, it all changes, even the way we perceive the world, and the people, and, of course, our own. Because, deep down, that this is the greatest truth, that we are able to create an all-new story, a new chapter in the book. We allow ourselves to be who we really are, with all our imperfections, and our pros and cons. And, in doing so, we discover that the real power is in our authenticity, and the courage to show it to the world without a mask, in order to follow our hearts, even when all around them tries to pull us down. And, in this way, we learn that the greatest power comes from within, and that is all that really matters, is the connection to our inner selves, with that sweet voice that always reminds us that we are all made of the possibilities, the dreams, and a unique light that only we can lighten. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because, a lot of times, a connection with our inner selves is sabotaged by a series of voices that are both external and internal, which are aligned in order to make us doubt who we really are. They are the sounds of the world, and the opinion of others, the expectation that we put on the boxes. They push us to believe that we need to be a certain way to be accepted or successful. And then, in the midst of the storm, views, and constraints, we have to recognize that the greatest truth is within us, the silent patient, waiting for you to listen to them with full attention. It is as if our lives were to be a fire. Sometimes it is hidden beneath layers of fear, doubt, guilt, or even a false idea of perfection. And it is only when we silence the noise of the external and the internal, that is, that we can understand how it's always been right there, shining down quietly, waiting for the time to come forward. It is often done gradually, in a kind of a wake-up call that happens slowly, almost as if a breeze begins to blow, gently, but with time, it will grow into a whirlwind of self-discovery. And from there, we realize that such a connection with our inner selves is not something that is apart from one time to another, but it's a process of discovery, to dismantle the layers of doubt and affirm who we are in addition to the masks, which we use to appeal to in order to survive, or to hide our pain. This is a journey that requires courage, because it's all about you look to the inside, and to see anything that we prefer to ignore, our deepest fears, our limitations, which appear to be insurmountable, and our wills, which have often been suppressed by a system that dictate what is right or wrong. And then, in a movement for the recognition, we begin to understand that true power doesn't come from the outside, the achievements and the materials, or to the opinions of others, but the inner strength that is ours by right. This is the force which resides in the ability to transform the pain into a life-transforming limitations into possibilities, to transform doubt into certainty. When we were able to make this connection is true to who we really are, it changes everything. There is no longer a constant search for approval, but it's a celebration of our authenticity, and our way of doing things, of thinking, of feeling. And it's this authenticity that, in turn, has an impact that extends far beyond ourselves, and influence all around us, inspiring others to reconnect with His light on. To see this, we begin to understand that the journey of self-discovery is a kind of mission. They are silent. They often do not appear in the headlines, but it is the most powerful of them all. Because, as we align with our truth, we can make a reality, one of the most vibrant, more real, more lightweight. It's as if, when we accept our lives, a new light will ignite within us, lighting up with every step, every decision, every relationship. And in that light, when it is supplied with self-love, with understanding, and courage, it is a never-failing source of strength and hope. Then, the deepest truth begins to emerge. We are so much more than what the world throws at you. We are the pure essence of a spark of the divine, which, once acknowledged, will never go out. And in that moment of discovery, many questions naturally arise. How do you keep that connection to the firm in the face of so many distractions? How can you resist those voices that try to convince us that we are not enough? And the answer, it seems to be on the practice of reconnecting with what really matters to you, from the building to our attention, We listen with love and learn how to filter out what is real of all the things that it is just a shadow. It is in this space of silence and listening to what our essence is revealed with a very easy to use, as it is a fact that you don't need evidence, just the space for you to be. It is in this space that we find the strength to move forward, even when everything around you seems to fall apart, because they are, after all, the only thing that really holds our journey is the one thing that we have in our heart, what we believe to be the essence of pure. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. As it is, and it is precisely because of this dive, we begin to realize that the greatest strength that we face does not come from the outside world, but our own doubts, our limiting beliefs that you insist on holding you, such as current and invisible, that prevent us from moving forward in a very light way. When you stop listening to that voice inside, and often a silent, yet extremely powerful, and we realize that all the answers that we have always been there, inside of us, waiting for the right time to reveal to you. It is a process of recognition, and to connect with what you really are, and that, for some reason, he was left out from time to time. It is as if, in the rush of life, we forget that our strength is not in the external validation, the approval of others, but in the quiet surety of who we are and what we can accomplish when we align our actions with the truth within. And then, when you delve a little bit deeper, we begin to see that each and every obstacle, every pain, every challenge, and, in fact, serves as a mirror, reflecting back what they still need to be worked on and changed. It's as if the life you were saying, look at the inside. Look for the one that you have to avoid so that you have a fear of face. And in that moment, it all becomes a question of courage in the face of the shadow self, accepting our imperfections. They are also part of the package, and that they are in the bridges, not walls, and to a version that is closer to the truth than we do ourselves. When this realization dawns, the resistance will decrease, because we realize that we are not here to be perfect, but in order to be authentic, to be free from masks, to unrealistic expectations. This is a journey of self-discovery is like a dance of silence, where in each step, however small it may seem to you, it brings us closer to our essence is pure. And, at the same time, it shows us that the true power lies in our ability to choose each and every day. We are going to be in the face of challenges. We are not victims of our circumstances, but the authors of our own story. Every decision we make, every thought that we nurture, build a new road, a new storyline that may or may not reflect what you really want. And it is for this reason that it is the consciousness, the attention to the love that we feel, what we think and what we believe is a fundamental tool in the process of transformation. When we begin to understand that the mind is an ally in the powerful, we can direct our thoughts in a way that will strengthen our courage, our hope, our ambition. And it is this change in its internal structure, of course, is reflected in the outer world, attracting a chance to be there seem to be far away or unattainable. It's as if, when you line up what you feel with what you believe in, opened a door to a new life. The more you take, the more it is true. And this new approach is able to turn even the most difficult moments into opportunities for learning, growth, connect deeply into what really matters to you. Because, deep down, it all comes down to a connection with our inner selves, with the assurance that we are more than our circumstances, most of our questions, rather than the opinions of others. And in the meantime, life goes on, with its ups and downs, its twists and challenges. But, when you get in touch with that inner space, we discover that we are a force to be silent, a light that never goes out, even in the blackest moments. And that light is what guides us in addition to the storms. In addition to that, it doesn't seem possible, because it is the evidence that, at the bottom, are made of raw materials that you never run out of love and hope, courage, and authenticity. When we realize this, we can begin to understand that the greatest gift we can give ourselves, it's such an intimate connection with who you really are regardless of what other people think, or what life is presenting to us. And then it all starts to make sense, in a way, that it is not always possible to explain it, but that we feel deep in every fiber of our being. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because it's the true transformation happens when we take responsibility for this connection is, when you decided that you no longer will we hide behind masks, fears, or expectations. It is at this point that we begin to awaken to a new reality, one that touches on the strength of who we really are, without filters, without the limitations imposed by the external world. And, in doing so, we realize that the world is running away from your emotions, or difficulties with, but to accept them, welcome them, let them to teach us something valuable. This is the essence of an authentic life, the courage to be who you are, and walking in our own footsteps, to believe that, even in the storm there's a way to the light, that you can only find out by reconnecting with our deepest truth. And, in the process, we have learned that the greatest strength is in the simplicity, to listen, to care, to love, and with the same intensity that we love, someone who makes us feel good, because it is, in truth, that self-love is the one that gives meaning to all that we do. And, as long as this understanding grows deeper, you also realize that all the things that seem to be distant, difficult, or even impossible, in fact, it's only a matter of time, patience, and persistence. Because the universe doesn't give us anything that we don't support or transform. Every challenge is an opportunity to reaffirm our strength, and to reaffirm our faith in life and in the lives of our ability to create a new life, more in tune with who you really are. And when you understand it, the fear subsides and the hope strengthened, and the will to keep going is renewed. That's the magic. You discover the core of who we understand, that we are all eternal learners, in an ongoing cycle of development. What really matters is not so much to arrive at a destination, but to enjoy every step you take, every learning experience, each and every moment of a deep connection with something that beats in all of us. Because, in the end, it's true, the journey is a discovery of the constant that we are all more than what we can see, more than what we think. We are the essence of the infinite, which is revealed every waking moment, every look for the inside. And, with this in mind, I invite you to ponder, what has been your connection to your essence? Have you listened to the quiet voice that calls you, who leads you? Or, you have been carried away by the noise outside, by the opinions of others, for the questions that you still insist on you to stop it? Because, deep down, the answer is right there inside of you, waiting to be recognized. And this is the key to opening up doors for you that you can't imagine yet, for a life that is more real. The more you take, the more you align with what you really are. After all, it all starts with this decision, is to look within, to accept what is out there, and to believe that, by doing this, you are reinforcing the foundation of all of that you want to build. Because, in the end, it is the greatest truth we find is that we are the creators of our own realities, the authors of our history, one of the architects of our own destiny. And then, when that is understood, we realize that the greatest freedom is to be true to our essence, our truth, the more pure, and it will never leave you alone, even when everything around you seems to fall apart. Says right there, I came to realize the truth. And in that moment of discovery, it all gets a different size, as if a curtain of the unseen to be pulled out to reveal a stage where we are, and at the same time, actors and directors of our own lives. The feeling that everything seemed to be out of our control, you are actually under our eyes, in our intention, it's lightweight, which is in contrast with the complexity of it all that we all face on a daily basis. It's as if, once you understand that we are the creators, we begin to see more clearly how the choices we make, the paths we are, and more importantly, the reasons why we have opted for a particular course. Such an understanding is not only an insight, an intellectual, and she turns into an experience for all your senses, an invitation, continuing to look inside and realize that no matter how the external world appears to be turbulent, true peace is born from within, and that space is quiet, where our own truths to the most authentic live in. When you realize that the responsibility to be silent is a type of release, a subtle case. No longer do we feel at the mercy of external forces, out of luck, or bad luck, destinations, times, but we understand that each and every decision, however small it may seem, it is a very important part in the construction of our universe, in particular. And you are well aware of that, too many times, and it awakens a sense of power that scares and fascinates at the same time. Power, and that it is not external, it is not the possession or control, but rather a force within, which, once awakened, that leads us to act with authenticity, with the elements in between what we are and what we do. It is a kind of alignment with our deepest core, where your choices are no longer the only automated responses, etc. in the circumstances, and shall be the manifestations are aware of our truth, the most pure. In the process, we realize that authenticity is to bridge the gap between our inner selves and the outside world. The more aligned we are with our lives, the less we feel that we are victims of chance, or of fate. With each step, it becomes a genuine expression of who we really are, and that, therefore, the universe begins to conspire in our favor, in a way that seemed to be impossible. That's the beauty of finding out that we are the authors of our history. We are no longer bound to the narratives that have been imposed by or under the shade of the expectations of others, but we can rewrite the screenplay, from the moment of the highest to connection with us. And to that freedom, that seems to be so simple. In fact, it is one of the greatest achievements of the human, as we return control over what's really important, our own happiness, our peace of mind, our state of evolution. And then, when you dive deeper into this understanding, we realize that this is a journey of self-discovery, is a kind of alchemy of emotions. Each layer is revealed, each of the belief that it does. It is like a gem that shines more brightly when exposed to the light of consciousness. And this lead, in turn, lights up also the darkest corners of our soul where we hold fears for the former, doubt is rooted, and the stories that urge us to hold on to the past. But, if you notice that you are responsible for this transformation, we are now experiencing the quiet strength pulsing deep within us, a desire to break free of these shackles and move forward with a more lightly on the planet. It's as if, when you accept that responsibility, you also accept the power to create a reality more in line with what we are, in fact. A place where we can each and every day to choose the things that make us vibrate, which makes us alive, as it connects us with our essence, the most pure. And then, this reflection, it is clear that freedom is not to escape from the world, it is not to avoid the challenges, but it is, in fact, it's a way of being present and mindful in your life. You have to learn to navigate in the storm, without losing the connection to what is most real to us. And, in doing so, we found out that all of the strength you seek is out there is already within us, waiting to be awakened. It's a matter of courage to see the truth, courage to take the reins of history, the courage to be who you really are, even when everything around you seems to be unclear or confusing. Because, deep down, this is the most beautiful in the journey. Understand that we are the writers, the artists, and the architects of our own destiny. And, in taking on this role with the love of and responsibility for, everything changes, everything lines up, and life is starting to think more clearly at the core of who we closer to the truth. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. When we begin to understand that we are the creators of our own way, it all makes a kind of dance, silent, for a routine to recognize that only reveals its beauty, is when we learn to listen to it. It is as if, for a long time, we are committed to a narrative that is imposed on us, a story that you think we should follow, not realizing that, in fact, we've always had a pen in his hands. Every decision, every choice, we are going to writing a chapter for that, too often, or imagine how it is shaped by our own hands, our deepest beliefs, for what we believe to be the truth or a lie. And it's powerful because it gives us a freedom that had, until then, seemed to be far away, almost out of reach. When you realize that your life is not something that happens to many people, but it's something that we build a work of art that only you can subscribe to a light that comes from within and lights up the path, it changes everything. Suddenly, the feeling of being at the mercy of fate dissolved, giving way to a sense of who we are, and, yes, the authors of our story, with all of the mistakes, successes, and lessons learned that this entails. And even more than that, this is an understanding that generates a liability which, at its core, it's liberating, because it takes away from the role of victim, and in places such as the protagonists, with the power to turn every obstacle into an opportunity to grow, every pain is a lesson that strengthens the soul. In this process, we can begin to understand that the mind is a kind of a secret garden, where we grow thoughts, emotions, and beliefs that govern the collection that we are going to enjoy it. And when you realize this, we become more aware of what you eat there, because we know that what we sow, inevitably, will flourish. It's like a seed of hope, self-love, courage, and that it can grow in any area, provided that it is only with the intent and care. And it is this responsibility also leads us to a constant search for self-understanding, because to understand who we are, in fact, in addition to the masks that we wear to protect ourselves or to please the world. The further we go along this journey, the more you realize that it's the core of it is a source of never-ending possibilities, and that it is not constrained by the external environment, but it beats strong, it is ready to be revealed in its purest form. On this journey, it is now well recognized as the creator of this is not easy because you need to have the courage to face our own shadows, our doubts, and our fears. But it is precisely because of this rivalry, encounter a great opportunity for liberation, healing, and transformation. And, in doing so, we began to see life with new eyes, with a look of one who knows that it is all a matter of choice, in alignment with our deepest truth. This is a change of perspective. It's like a new lens that reveals details of it before you went unnoticed, the small opportunities that were hidden in the routine, the exhaustion, the despair. And there you have it. Everything takes on a new meaning, a new color, a new texture. Because, deep down, we are all artists of our own destiny. Each and every moment we have the freedom to paint, erase, create a new story that reflects your true self. It is a real revolution in the homeland, with a great message, but the depth of the impact that starts in the mind, it spreads through the heart, and it is manifested in your daily life. When you understand this, everything will become lighter, brighter, more authentic self. And, in the process, we have learned that it is the most beautiful of all is the freedom to be who you really are, the courage to follow our dreams even if they seem far away or impossible. Because, at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is our connection to this highest essence, that invisible force that guides us, what inspires us and reminds us that we are infinite potential, capable of creating, transforming, evolving every day. And when you realize it, your life is no longer a struggle to make it to a dance. It's a symphony playing in the rhythm of the heart. And that is the true magic of it all is, to understand that, by taking on the role of the authors of our own stories, we can begin to live in a way that is more conscious, more full, more real. Because, in essence, is the greatest gift we can give ourselves. It is with this understanding that we are all responsible for everything that happens, everything we feel, everything I achieve, or fail to achieve. And with this responsibility, we have the freedom to create a life that is truly worth living, a life pulsating with the core of a more authentic life, even with your ups and downs, and that is our own, unique, authentic. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. If you've come this far, it's because that's the message he spoke to you in some way. Few people have been able to keep the contact up to the end, and if you're here, I want to thank you for taking some time to reflect for me. He comments that I'm with you till the end of it. It shows that you value the conversation that is open to the transforming this understanding into practical steps in their lives. Enjoy and subscribe to the channel. Here we seek to bring the content that really make a difference, that help us better understand who we are and how we can live with more purpose and authenticity. And then, this reflection, you have touched in some way, the leaves and the like, because it helps to strengthen the message and spread the word about this idea of people who need to hear it. To stay up to here, it's a movement of courage and openness, and I hope that this conversation will continue as an echo inside of you as you move forward on your journey. And if you want to dig deeper, there's a video right here on the side, which complements this subject, is a natural continuation of this discussion. Click there and follow me, because the journey doesn't stop here, it just gets more and more wealthy with each and every step that we take together. The end of this time, with you, it reminds me of this type of trade is the one that gives you a sense of what I've done here. So, always keep in mind, this journey is yours, and you in each step of the awareness it takes to be closer to the truth, which is lighter and more in tune with who you really are. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue by exploring these paths, because our story is still being written, and each chapter may be a more mindful and full of meaning.